So the idea of the strategic planning process is to make your life easier in the future. And so if you've already got a business plan, you'd open up your business plan and you go through it with everybody and say, okay, what problem are we solving? Are we still solving that problem? Who's got it? Like in my case, I started the business plan way back when for helping startups. Nowadays, I'm also helping at the other end of the spectrum, people selling their businesses. Because most businesses, according to brokers, are either unsellable, which is a tragedy, especially if you've been working so long on a business. You hope to sell it. That's your money to go to the beach but the businesses are either unsellable or worse, they're a train wreck behind the scenes. And I find that we can fix that. So what I'm talking about here is a strategic plan. You guys, I'm preaching to the choir, but the idea is to give you a tool that you can use with your clients so you can walk your clients through it. I'm going to show you how you don't have to do a whole lot of work to do this. The system, you can leverage this platform to, it talks to the client. I'll show you all that. And in fact, you mentioned AI, there's a thing where AI, people are, well, I could do this with AI. I don't need your stinking plan. Let me show you what ChatGPT says about that. Yes, Michael.
I want to empower you. I generally use two laptops, one to watch like I'm watching you, and the other to write my notes. But then on a yellow pad, what I've learned from some people is that it isn't so much that we're learning things, it's that it's reminding us of things. And so it triggers these ideas that we've had, like, oh yeah, what about that? And then we can incorporate what we're learning, like from you, with what we've already done or known. So it's not so much learning. So all of us, as you say, we're kind of veterans or whatever, but we're going to be triggered by things that we knew or that we've known, and we can add that to what you're saying.
Happy to hear it, man. Yeah. I mean, we talk about triggers about stuff. There's Alvin Toffler. Have you ever read the book Future Shock way back a million years ago? I
Mm.
remember a quote from him. He says, the challenge we have now is we need to learn, we need to unlearn, and then we need to relearn.
Yep.
No, I'm at the
Mm.
place, but looking at all of us, I think we're at a place where, I mean, I love learning, but at the same time, I'd like to start profiting from what I already know, because to me, learning is like, oh, I got to fix a mistake. I screwed up. I got to fix it. And then I won't make that mistake again. And I'll make some money off that, whatever I learned there. I'd like to think I've accumulated a lot of learning that we can start making some money off this today and stop making mistakes. And that's really kind of what I want to talk about. And then the strategic planning, is about. I mean, I hate planning. I always hated planning. I'm more of a bright, shiny objects guy. Hey, let's go over there. Be squirrel. And but then when I realized that, first of all, the business plan was designed to explain to an investor, like, what am I doing? Why should you invest in this thing? How does this make sense to an investor? Because they're looking at, I'd say, a handful to 100 other deals, and I need my deal to be top of mind. And what I learned at the Sharper Image catalog, for what it's worth, that was the electronics buyer there, which is like, it's a guy gadget catalog. My job was to go out and source bright, shiny objects. And that was a lot of fun. But they moved me over to the catalog department to write copy. And one of the things I noticed about the Sharper Image, why people would call up, they just call up, and we worked in the call center like 1 hour a week just to stay in touch with the world. They'd call up, you'd punch the light glowing button. Hi, welcome to the Sharper Image. And before I could say anything else, they'd say, that knife on page 64, I want it. Here's my American Express card number. I'm thinking, whoa, this is going fishing and the fish are just jumping in the boat. And I'm thinking, that's the kind of sales job I want to have. Right? All I got to do is drive the boat out there and the fish jump in it. Well, the trick to that was giving people all the information they needed right now so they could make a decision. You didn't have to think about it and go, wait, let me go ask some questions. I don't know. And so what the business plan became, in my mind, was kind of like a catalog of answers to the inevitable questions we know investors are going to ask. And they're not going to chase you around to invest in your deal. You're going to chase them around. And they're going to, they may get all excited about your pitch. Oh, this is really a great idea. This is the greatest thing ever, And then they'll wake up tomorrow morning thinking, hold it here, I got some questions. You know how it is. You wake up the next day. That's why we want to sleep on things before we make a decision. Like, I'll write a brilliant email at night and I think, "I'm not sending that till I read it in the morning." And, of course, then there's changes, and I think, "Oh my god, what was I thinking last night?" That kinda stuff. But they're gonna call up their friends, they're gonna call up their technical friend and say, "Does this thing make sense?" They're gonna call up their marketing friend and say, "Is this thing sellable?" They're gonna call their finance friend and say, "Does this thing add up?" And so now they've got questions, and you've gotta anticipate those questions and, of course, bake them into your plan, into your pitch, and they're gonna call you up and they're gonna ask questions. They're gonna talk to you. They're not gonna talk to your AI. They'll read your business plan eventually before they write you a check. They always do, even though people say they don't read business plans. No, they don't read business plans until they believe this dog's gonna hunt. And then at that point, they're good. They want the details. Anyway, that's the case for that. But this is strategic planning, which is taking your business plan, reworking it for next year. That's how often you do it, and at the same time, I think you want to engage everyone, I won't say everyone in your business, depending on how many people you have. But one experience I had of strategic planning back in the day was we had our shipping guy in the room. He's not the management team, he's a shipping guy. But he's in there and he says, I got an idea. Okay, what is it? Well, we were shipping software boxes. There'd be people could pay extra for next day air. They could get second day air and they could get ground. And that's how we do it. And he says, way FedEx works, and I've not been to FedEx, but you can imagine how they would do this to be efficient. They get packages in, they got the red label for next day, they got the blue labels for the second day. Do you really think they're going to take the second day air? Let's move these aside and wait till tomorrow to send them, when the conveyor belt can just throw it on the same plane. It's going from Memphis to Los Angeles. Just get all of them, just everything we got, throw it on that plane, and it goes out to LA. Now, if it makes the second day, well, that's okay because that's what you paid for. But more often than not, it's just as easy to deliver it the next day because that's what they're all about, right? Even if it's probably ground. So what he said was, he says, we could simplify the operation here. We don't have to have all these different envelopes, all these different variations. They can sign up and pay for whatever they want, but we're going to ship it second day air. If you ship it second day air, 99% of the time it's going to show up next day. So the next day people are going to be happy. The second day people are going to be ecstatic because it got there faster. And the people who ordered ground, they got it the next day also. And it just made it logistically easier. It was less expensive. It saved money. It saved time. It saved headache. And it's not just a financial thing. It's all the logistical hoo-ha that goes along with some of these operations. So it's interesting to have a frontline person, the shipping guy, who came up with that. And I thought, okay, good point to make. Tell this story over and over again because it's strategic planning. You never know who's going to come up with the idea. And so the other thing I think of is also the idea of maybe have a piece of paper on the wall where, okay, before we get into this strategic planning meeting, let's take a group draw out and what are our problems? Hey, the coffee maker's broken. Write it down. This isn't working. I hate the fluorescent lights. Let's just get all the complaints out. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a brain dump of all the stuff that is in the way of people being able to start thinking about the business and getting to what you want to get to. But you look at these problems, then you sort out what's a priority. Do we need a new coffee machine? Get one, and just solve some of that stuff real fast so that people feel like, oh God, they're listening to me. I like working at this place because they're paying attention. They don't, use the cheap coffee that I hate. I want the Pete's. Let's get the good coffee because we're all caffeine fueled. Let's use premium, And so let's get the problems out the way. Yes, Michael.
I've already taken all these notes that you're reminding me of and combining them. But what you're saying, it reminds me of Chet Holmes. Chet Holmes would go to a business where he was invited, uh,
The
and he
ultimate
would
sales machine.
yeah, there you go. He would have, the employees in there from whatever department or whatever, but no, supervisors or managers, just the employees. And he'd say, "Look, this is just private, just us. So I'd like to hear from all of you what you would do to fix this business or make it better." And bam, it was kinda like a human suggestion box.
Yeah.
And he'd get flooded with good ideas, and then he'd polish it up and then give it to the management anonymously, not, saying who said it. Um, but like you're saying with the shipping guy, same kind of thing. Like, what would you do? And usually employees don't have that opportunity. They're not given that opportunity.
They're not heard. You could put a suggestion box there, but does anybody really do anything? Does anybody say anything? They think, "Hey, thanks, Barbara, great idea," and you're thinking, "Yay, they heard me," you know? Uh, maybe it's just maybe that's triggered childhood thing. They don't hear. I remember the story of the emperor's new clothes, and he comes out naked, of course, and the kids going, "He's naked," and everybody's like, "Shut up, kid," we all grew up with that, like, "Yeah, but shut up." You're like, "Okay, now I understand that problem," but nevertheless, hey, let's get on with this thing. So let's get into it. So I promised something like, time to traction, getting this thing done months sooner, actually months sooner. It's not like you could do it with AI, but then you have to undo it and redo it, and that's gonna be more trouble than it's worth. And more often than not, people just don't know what questions to ask. Unless you really know what to say to the AI and prompt it, uh, what good's the AI? The AI is gonna, I hate to say garbage in, garbage out, but quality in, quality out, one way or the other. Barbara, you're going crazy. You okay?
I'm okay, but you're right on. It's garbage in, garbage out, and you don't know where the data's coming from, who input the data that it's, feeding back to you. So yeah, you're right on about that.
So I've been in business, God, 40 something years here. I've been doing this business 30 something years. And so, I mean, back in the day, we had 10 products and 3,500 stores doing about 13 million in sales with 30 people. I bring that up not as a humble brag, but just like, it's not even that big. But I've been down the road and have dealt with all this stuff personally, spent my own money, paid for my own mistakes, my made my mistakes on my own dime. And anyway, I was gonna say, by the way, one of the hiring mistakes, if someone was hiring me, they say, one of the best hiring questions is tell me about a mistake you made and what you learned from it. And one of my mistakes I made was I was interviewing a guy for a sales job. He was a sales VP. I said, tell me about a mistake you made and what you learned from it. And he looks at me, I don't make mistakes. What was my mistake? I hired the guy anyway. Ah! Stupid. Anyway, and that's an aside. But part of strategic planning, is you got to who are you going to hire? So it's the who, why, what, where, when, and how, and it's all part of that. And so, let me get into this here with you guys. So I was going to show you is the I don't think all of you have seen it, the latest version of the Business Power Tools dashboard, and I'll just give you a look here at it. But the idea is to show you how this works so you can use it. And like I say, it doesn't cost you anything. Your client subscribe to it. And this is the dashboard here. There's like what I call the business model canvas on the front page. And then there's the business plan. All things that were in the business plan software that we sold back in the day has been updated and put into this panel. So the financial model's here, the pitch deck is here, that book that comes in the box that you bought in the software back in the day is here. There's a CRM system we have. There's a bunch of financial models and different things in your supporting docs. If people owe you money, here's a nice little collection of notices of saying, hey, you owe me some money and you want to collect the money. The green part is, of course, us talking to you. And if you put in your formal company name, it would say it at the top, but down below and throughout, it would say, at Ford, we do this, at Ford, we do that. But here's a series of documents for that. So the real secret sauce, I think, of Business Power Tools is that we've given you the content. It's not just, text or an empty thing. Like you would get the, uh, you know, the business plan template from the SBA, and it's blank. So we give you exactly what to say and how to say it. So there's legal contracts, there's management templates. It's all kind of looks the same, but you can see it's changing. Board minutes, governance, all this stuff, marketing, a whole bunch of marketing calculators. My favorite one here, everybody wants to know what's the customer lifetime value. So that might be a consideration in your strategic plan is what is our customer lifetime value? So what's the product sell for? Is there an add-on product? Any services that go with it? How many referrals do we get? This is one of these numbers that if you got one referral per each customer per year, what is that? How does that? It's a multiplier. It's a force multiplier in the value of your customers. And at the end of the day, you could show your list, present value of your list is, well, in this case, this example, $9 million. But talk about adding value to your company and being able to think through, what works. This one right here about the referrals, I read somewhere that well, first of all, if people like you, they're likely to tell 3 other people. If they don't like you, they're likely to tell a dozen to 20. So do the math on that, and you really can't afford to screw up more often than, more than 1 in 4 times. But nevertheless, so one person even suggested you might even want to engineer a problem into your process, which sounds crazy, but here's the idea. You engineer a problem into it, so just so you can solve it. Just so you can, so the customer has an experience of, wow, something went wrong, but you know what? I called these guys up and they took care of me. They're awesome. I love them. Now they have a reason to say good things about you. Anyway, that's the idea on that. But that puts some teeth into customer service. It's not just lip service. You're actually doing it. So we have a lot of operational, some procedures that are in here. And my best way of gamifying this thing is making this sort of bento box looking system, open up and show you things like press releases and stuff like that. And you can always click the plus sign to add something new to it. But let's get back to the business plan a second. Here's BizPlanBuilder here. I'll open up the Cannabis Club just because it's the most fun. And you can see, you fill in, this is all this information that goes into this business plan. And of course, if this is your plan you've already had, you'd open it up from last year, you'd open it up and you go through it with people. And you put in here, like, what business are we in? This is all in an interest of, well, some consistency, but also reducing typing. I'm all about reducing the amount of unnecessary work that goes into something like a plan. And this will be repeated throughout your business plan, probably 1,000 different places. So if I can save you typing 3 words over and over again, hey, we'll do it. And then we have all these different variations of models of where this thing comes from, even a nonprofit. Maybe click a subcategory. This doesn't have a lot of subcategories, but we do have something down in technology, for example. Is it hardware? Here's some hardware ideas. Is it software? Some software options. This one happens to be medical related because it's cannabis. I'll load that one up. So we've got the cannabis thing in here. Anyway, so then you just click. This is, when was the business established? What's your fiscal year? What month are we doing this plan? This has been there a while. Then you open it up and you get this monstrosity, which initially I thought was a great idea to show all the open pieces. But really, this is the business plan we had. And we just took a whole segment of it, like this one here. And we just said, look, let's open this up and show you, give it to you in bite-sized pieces, because you're not going to use all of it at all. You're going to use most of it. But this is the fundamental components of your business plan, of your strategic plan, and that's what's in it. So you might look at, okay, and it all ends up at the executive summary, which is, you do this last, of course, because you want to do everything else first. But you can see Cannabis Club is in here. You've got, well, Canada Company, Cannabis Club. It should say in different places, it's going to talk about the oil business that you're in, the cannabis essential oils. There's market analysis. This is something you should review. Now you can see there's content in here. The business that you're in is automatically entered. The company name is in here. I'll show you I'm going to address this in a second. But the idea here is there's a template. If this opens up blank, you click add this template to your plan and it pops it in there. There's an explanation of what is market analysis even about. This is probably our longest winded explanation in the platform here. There's a place for some notes. Yeah, I got, like this is kind of you're talking outside the plan. Maybe an investor's looking at it, they're asking you a question. And then there's a video intro, which is me explaining this to them so you don't have to. So I'm just showing you all this stuff that's already here, that every one of these is anywhere from, a minute to 5 minutes tops.
Market analysis. This is probably one of the most critical parts of your business plan altogether. In a nutshell, what market analysis is, you're showing someone, I'm going to plant a bunch of seeds and I want to prove to you that I'm planting my seeds in fertile ground. So what the investor and lender sees in market analysis is, okay, where's this business? What's it dropping into? Where's it going? What kind of world is this business going to live in? What's the environment for this business? What's the
Anyway, that, that gives you the idea. So there's that. That just starts explaining it to you. Now, the other thing I mentioned that I'm going to show you how to save $4,000 or $5,000 in market research, and this is a relatively new, recent in the world phenomena that we have. And what I'm going to suggest is is what I said in the explanation here is use infographics to populate your plan. And so you don't need to go out and spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a market research paper unless you want to. I mean, they're probably great, but look at what you can do here. Let me go back to the template. So we're in here. Oh, and the green part is, again, us talking to you. You just hit the delete button and you can go through here and you're going to, how way this works is, where in the market are we? We are, so you're going to delete this. We are worldwide. And so there you go. So you're going to go through this thing. You're going to delete stuff. There's nothing even to type, but you're going to get a lot of ideas that are cross-pollinated from multiple industries on how to think about this and how to do stuff. Now, these infographics, what you do is, according to the instructions up there, you go out to, Google, and I typed in infographic images, cannabis market, USA. Okay. Now look at this. First, you got this giant one here, which I pasted in. What you do here is you right-click this, and you copy the image address, and you go back into your plan over here, and I'll put this at a market. Let's put this at market opportunity. Let's say, yep, there it is. And you click on this. You click into the graphic thing. You paste it here, and then you save it, and you've got this graphic now in your plan. And I think there's enough on this panel here. This is huge in that one, but you just close it. But look at this, infographic images, cannabis market, USA. You think you could find some believable, credible, instructive, illustrative graphics to make your point. These can be pasted into your PowerPoint presentation, your investor pitch deck. In pretty much every industry, this just goes on and on and on and on. Oh my God. You get some nice pictures to put in, certainly lots of graphs to prove your point about growth and possibilities. I was talking to a guy in Africa the other day, and he has a whole thing going on for biofuels in Africa. Same thing, image, infographic image, biofuel market, Africa. Huge. It just blows up. So anyway, you can get into the business concept here. Again, you're probably going to you're going to start by deleting stuff, but you get some ideas on the process of it. Some things you're probably not going to need to use over and over again. The legal structure is the legal structure. So you don't need to be to death in strategic planning. Yes.
A couple of things. One is, this is phenomenal. And it's the fire hose.
Yeah. Right.
Is there going to be a replay?
Yeah, sure. I'm recording this.
Okay. And the other thing is, what was the other thing? Oh, on the infographics, if we have our own infographics, can we put it in, or does it have to be what you have?
Yeah, well, see this graphic thing, right? The little graphic icon here. That's what I want to point out too. See this is the hard part of using this product, is understanding. This is how I'm showing you how it works. I mean, this editor here is simpler than Word. It's simpler than Excel. I mean, it's stupid simple. But here you click this thing here. I showed you pasting in a source thing here, right? Right, paste that in. You can also click upload and upload your own image.
Okay.
So, choice, user's choice, this one or this one. So you can do either way you want.
Great. Okay.
Grab stuff off the internet, and I grab those off the internet. Obviously, I'm not even stealing them. I'm just pointing to them, but it appears here. And that we don't include any graphics like that in the system. You get your own, but we'd show you how to do that because everybody's business obviously is different. And you can see there's a mile-long page of infographics that you can choose from, which is cool. Anyway, so the other thing I think people want to know in your business is, who am I working for? So who are these people who are on the executive team here that are the people I'm working for. So you might want to put their little bios in here. So you recognize these Star Trek characters. Star Trek started in like 1968. Can you believe that? That was crazy way back then. Anyway, so, and then you can see as founder, I have my name in here, and then Cannabis Club. So it starts to, kind of self-customize with some of the data you put into it. But let me get to another part. So you can see that there's parts here to use. Every section here has got a video intro, notes, an explanation, and a template that you can use, of course, and then there's the content that you can edit. Simple as that. That's really all there is to it. The other thing I want to show you here is the financial model here, and that's this one. This is an Excel model. It uploads to the internet, and it works like Excel. So if you know how to use that, it's the same, basic menu up here. I'm not asking you to learn how to use anything new. This plays to that, the app fatigue. You already know how to use this. I'm not asking you to learn how to use anything except just sort of follow the bouncing ball here. And there's tabs across the bottom. I'll point those out to you. There's colorful tabs across the bottom for each section. And what I wanted to do here, the improvement I think we made over the original financial model it was just this one big, long, vertical monstrosity. And here you've got different pages, in an Excel workbook where you can get to the parts you want to see. So you put your basic company information in here. All this information fills out the rest of the model. So you saved you the typing there. But the real piece that has to do with strategic planning is this. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah. I have an older laptop, Windows 10, and I got a new one, Windows 11. Will it work the same on 10 or 11?
This is a browser.
Oh, okay.
This is online. This is all online. We just uploaded an Excel model online, and it just sucks it up there, and it works there. So
okay, thanks.
This again for your clients. This is how you can walk your client through this thing. This one I wanted to make an important point because I'm on these panels where these investors, investors are on it, but these entrepreneurs are pitching their product. And, on this one medical panel, for some reason, there's 3 mistakes they make, and they always make them. They make them over and over again. And you got to stop it because when you make these mistakes, the investors put their checkbooks back in their pocket and run screaming for the hills. And the first mistake is this one. It's a $10 billion market. If we just got 1%, we'd be a $100 million company. Good luck with that. That is beyond catastrophic to say. Just hear yourself in your head. That's your inside voice speaking, and then shut up about. Don't ever say that. Okay. The flip side of that coin is we're going to sell $1 million in our first year. Now, I was on a panel of a business plan competition at University of Texas in Austin. And with me on the panel were 3 venture capitalists. And every single team came out and said, we're going to do $1 million in our first year. And I thought to myself, I looked over at the VCs and I said, guys, is it just me or does everybody do $1 million in their first year? And they all just burst out laughing. Like, Perk, you'd be blown away at how often we hear that. And I'm thinking, oh my God. Okay, that's horrible. Now, the third piece on this one, third disastrous thing, just to really put the final nail in the coffin is, and our numbers are conservative. So there are 3 things you hear in your head. They do not come out of your mouth, okay? It's a $1 billion industry. We're going to get 1%. We're going to make $1 million in our first year, and our numbers are conservative, okay? That's the last time you're ever going to hear that and say it, okay? All right. Trust me, this will work for you. Instead, here's what you do. You have the example I'm using here. I'm switching from cannabis to a boat product. Okay, so the idea here is, okay, I'm going to segment my customer base. So in this case, there's sailboat owners and powerboat owners and fishing boat owners, and we give you, up to like 10. Now you could add a bunch of rows in here, make it 1,000, but I will warn you. You want to show there's kind of a delicate balance between some focus and some breadth. So you don't want to show too much. I figure 10 is good because we can handle 10. Got 10 fingers, that works. So the idea here, and of course, if you're not using them, you can go down and pare this thing down and go into this, and you can hide rows so you can tighten this thing up. But it's all open right now. So first of all, what you do is you go, well, okay, sailboat owners. How many sailboat owners are there in the world? And you could look up back to an infographic and find out, the source of how many sailboat owners there are on the planet. Just saying. So here's my example. So now I put here, and I explain this here. So there's all kinds of little pop-ups that explain, like, what does CAGR mean, compound annual growth rate? What am I asking for here? So I'm talking about the total available market, and what you're going to do in this comment box, you're going to delete that whole comment, but you're going to leave this little reference at the bottom that would say, in this case, reference Sailing Magazine, 350,000 paid subscribers. Now, that's just an example. I don't think subscribing to a sailing magazine means you own a sailboat, although, hey, anyway. But the idea is investors, it's an empirical fact. Investors, when they do their due diligence, which means they're checking up to make sure that what you say is true and believable, they want to start here. So now you've got, okay, 350,000 sailboat owners. I believe you. Got it. And you do that for all your other market segments. Okay, done. And then what you do is, since if you're going to be pitching venture capitalists, let's say, or investors, more often than not, they've got an MBA and they got a calculator in front of them. And if you come in and say, okay, I've got this many people and I'm going to sell this many units, they're going to whip out their calculator and they're going to say, oh, you're talking at 0.5%. What market penetration are you talking about? I'm saying, okay, let's lead with that market penetration, because this is where it gets negotiable. And I've done this online with the investors on the screen with a tiny home company, and they wanted to know about this stuff, what percentage of it. And you can see the blue numbers are all changeable. Black numbers do the math. And so the point here is the investors want to know, how do you arrive at these numbers? How do you build this number? Which is why I'm belaboring this revenue model, because you get this revenue model right, then your whole plan starts to become believable. And that's really the key. This is the foundation of a believable financial projection. And so this part's negotiable, 0.5%, 10%. What do you think you're going to do? But for God's sake, don't say 1%. Remember, I said that before. I say it right here. Don't say 1%. Now, I'm being kind of facetious. You could say 0.9% or 1.1%. Okay, but 1% is the proverbial bozo no deal killer. Okay, so anyway, you're going to negotiate here, and of course, this will do the math. And this penetration rate, the share of market, you're going to increase that. I'm going to get more customers over time. So not only is the customer base going to grow, but your ability to reach them is also going to grow. And so now you've got a number down here. How many sailboat owners are going to buy my product? 0.5% of 350,000 sailboat owners are going to buy my boat anchor. Okay. And then you're adding up the rest of these guys. Okay. So then you've got products down here. And there's some different ways of playing this, but the way I'm doing it right now is, let's say, now here's all your products. You list them all in here and what they cost. And this intro offer, tripwire, loss leader is what like the grocery store might say, hey, get a free bottle of wine when you come to the grocery store. You think, yeah, I'll go to the grocery store. And so you're going to get 100% of those people going into the grocery store because they want the free bottle of wine. Yeah. But then 50% of them are going to buy a steak. 20% of them are going to buy chicken. 50% are going to buy something else. And so this is kind of the way this probability, this product purchase mix might play out. Now, in the case of my tiny home client, they had 10 different tiny homes. And what happens there was, this needed to add up to 100%. So my first example of, they could come in and buy a bunch of different things from you. You could do it this way. If you only have 10 different products and there's a specific mix, then this needs to add up to 100%, which is easy enough to do. But you're explaining this to the investor. So this whole thing really is trying to help you explain to your team, to yourself, and to investors or lenders how this thing works, how this business makes money, because they think in terms of numbers. You gotta do the numbers. Now I'm, sort of a numbers guy, become more of a numbers guy, but I started out with I'm right brain. I'm more of an artist type. I want to talk about colors and shapes. But, at some point, if you want somebody to write a check, you got to explain to them how much to send you. So So now you've got price, you've got a mix, and now you can get to units sold. So because the mix of these guys of how many of this turns into this mix here, and now you've done the math into units sold. So units sold times price equals revenue for each unit. You can see these things replace themselves as you on that first page. So this repeats throughout the model. And now you've got a number down here, in this case, $2.3 million, but you can see how this number was built. It wasn't out of 10 billion, you got 1%. It wasn't $100 million the first year. You can actually see how you get there from here. And that's why I beat this page to death, because this is the one that's the fundamental piece that underlays everything. Then we add some other incidental revenue you might bring in. Okay, just add that in. And then just to see, like, let's just do a rough analysis here. I call it the back of the envelope reality check. If my cost of goods are 20% and R&D is 15%, I spend 40% on marketing. These numbers, the whole point of the rest of the model, of course, is to sharpen your pencil on these numbers. But you can see the numbers are still black, which is a good thing. Now, if suddenly R&D goes to 40%, numbers turn red, and that's bad. So, but you can see we turn numbers to red on you, so you can see what's going on. Anyway, and then real quick down here, if your EBITDA, meaning your earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, meaning besides your taxing and taxes and financial shenanigans you got going on, what is the raw number that this business actually produces? Now, how much horsepower does it have? And then investors typically multiply the EBITDA times a price earnings ratio, meaning the price is X times whatever your profit is, in simple terms. So now you can get a quick sense of what this valuation of this business becomes based on your projections. So then you can, okay, I'm interested. Keep talking. Yay. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the rest of the model here, but maybe you're looking in your strategic plan, we're thinking we need to invest some money. Do we need money from outside sources? Yes or no? And of course, I think of this as your shopping list of everything you need to buy, do, whatever it is. And you can see it all in here. And you'll type in, there's a page for HR in here. You see new hires. Anyway, this is getting kind of intense, but the idea is you walk through it. It seems kind of complicated at first, but when you walk through it, you can really step an investor through this. They really will understand. They want to understand how you think through your business. That's the critical part. Maybe they don't believe your numbers, that first page, but at least they see how you're thinking about it. And they can come in and say, well, I think you should change these numbers, and do it. That's what the tiny home folks did. The investors changed some numbers and they ended up happy with it. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, you'll see what this looks like, what your income statement looks like. It's a decent looking model. We didn't make it overly pretty with, lots of different colors and crazy stuff behind it. To financial people, a pretty spreadsheet is one that shows them where the number they're looking for is. They can find the number they're looking for. In this case, what's your revenue? What are your cost of goods? What does this thing make? What's your EBITDA on it? And some charts and graphs. Of course, this isn't all filled in, so that's not going to show. But everything you're looking for, balance sheets here, everything here has got some kind of check at the bottom that says this balances like it's supposed to, so there's no mistake in there. You've got cash flow. There's a break-even analysis. There's a ratio analysis. This is one of those things where, again, the investors are going to look up online and go, hey, I've got $1 million car wash. How many employees does a typical $1 million car wash have? What should the profit margin of a typical $1 million car wash be? And all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole number of different statistics. And we suggest BizStats. You can go to other places. But we take your 3-year average of what you're showing. You put in the BizStats number or wherever you're getting this number from. Back in the day, it was... what was it called? It was some company out of Chicago that had these numbers. And what we do is we do the math. And so if you've got a number here, you can see we just put in, 10 as a placeholder. But you can see if a number is really out of whack, what I tell you is, fix it or tell a better story. But the idea here is we're telling you what the computation is. This is kind of like your MBA in a page. I need you to be ahead of the finance people, or at least on the same page. And this is the simplest, fastest, quickest, easiest for anybody to do. I don't didn't go to get an MBA, but now I understand what they're looking for, and we do it for you because we want you to be ahead of them. That's the whole idea. Because that's how you get in front of them faster, how you make sense to them faster, how you raise capital faster, and you really want to always be ready to raise capital if you need it. So your strategic plan may or may not call for raising money, but hey, at least you understand your business and you can talk to anybody about it and you're ready to do it. And so this column here is all about, like, okay, what's the math behind this thing? And this column over here is what is it telling you? What's the interpretation? So it's not just here's a number, like, so what? Here's why. Here's what that number means and what it means to you. And then the other one here, which is always interesting, it's called a sensitivity analysis technically, but it's really your best worst case analysis. So instead of, we've got competitors out there that'll show you, we've got 3 different financial models which show you the best and the worst case along with the plan case, and you get to go through all 3 of them and figure it out. And I'm thinking, no, that's crazy. Why don't we just take our planned case and run it down the middle? And on the left side, we say, okay, if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, sales are going to be half of whatever you said. And if you hit the ball out of the park with a tailwind, here's what it's going to do. And the investors can say, I don't buy that. And they change the number. Do it all the time. Great, go for it. But down here, you just go down the column. It's cost of goods sold are double. They're half. Marketing costs more, costs less. R&D, more or less. At the end of the day, down here, if everything goes wrong, this is what it looks like. If everything goes to plan, if everything goes great, now we know probably none of those scenarios are going to happen, but just like a casino would do, they're going to weigh the odds. And so the house always wins, and this is where we want you to be. And so what are the likelihood of each of these scenarios playing out? Let's weight the average here. So there's a 30% chance it goes to hell in a handbasket. Hell, a 50% chance it goes to hell in a handbasket. Oh, but the math is wrong. We need to change this math. We got a 10% here. We're still off. We got to back this down to 40%. And now the investors have made an adjustment. But now, given their assumptions about each category here and their probability here, and you've got a revenue model, they believe, and of course, in the middle of this whole thing, you put in expenses and you've shown how different things are going to be, what they're going to cost. But now they've got a number that they can believe because they participated in trimming your model. And so then back to the basic back of the envelope calculation, if they want an internal rate of return, and we explain what all these are right here. So you're not left out wondering like what, and this means year over year, not yo-yo, but year over year. So they want this is what it looks like to them. They get a quick look, just get a sense of, okay, what's my deal look like? Which is, because at the end of the day, if you're pitching money, the business plan, I say the better job you do in your business plan, the better deal you're going to make. And so the idea is it all boils down to one number. The investor says, yes, I'll do it. How much of your business do I get for my $100,000 or my $1 million investment? And if you can show that your pre-money valuation, which would be your valuation summary here, if my pre-money valuation is a certain number, and here's a whole bunch of different ways of valuing your business, we take the numbers right off your numbers here and down to your cost of money, what's that multiple, what's the expected return on investment, all that stuff, and including future financing in this thing. What's this business actually worth? Harvard does it this way. The discounted cash flow does it that way. The first Chicago method, which I'll to this day cannot explain, but our experts say that works. So that way, venture capitalists do it this way, but if you average them, you get that. So now you can look at an investor in the eye and say, I think it's worth 20 million bucks. You give me, so the idea is for example, if you could convince the investor your business is worth $900,000 before they give you any money, and they give you $100,000, well, your 900 plus their 100 makes it worth $1 million. They have 10% of your business. Right? Now, if you could do a really much better job on your business plan and convince them it's worth $1.9 million, making this up, it's not only worth $1 million more, but they give you $100,000, they only get 5% of your business because 100,000 is only 5% of 2 million. So that's why this is worth doing. Even if you have to watch this over and over again and you go through the model, it's worth doing because it's worth millions of dollars to you. And I can't think of an easier, faster, better way to make $1 million than having a great plan. Because going out and doing it in the real world is the hard way. And if you want to get, like they say, the fastest way to the top of an oak tree, you can get out a ladder and start climbing. You can sit on an acorn, or you can make friends with a big bird. So if you want to make friends with a big bird, this is what you do. And so whether it's business planning at the beginning of your business or now, or putting together a strategic plan, into my share here. Um, Putting all this plan together, I want to just, I think we've made it as easy as it possibly can be. There's a lot to it, but there's a lot riding on it. And that's where I think it pays off. And I want to show you guys so you guys could actually walk your clients through this. And I mean, there's a lot there and it's a big project, but you could show them how you can do, how easy it can be for them. And we've compressed and contracted and, and done that the project and made it easy as possible for you. So you're not doing a whole lot of work. The heavy lifting's done. You just need to make sure they keep doing it because they may not get it. And I picture someone like when you were saying to somebody, look, go through the market analysis section, call me on Tuesday and we'll discuss it. And that's what you do. And that's where you've got this consulting skill, years of business experience, and that's where you bring that to bear to help them with their business. But as far as explaining to them what to do and how to do it, I think we've covered that and giving them the model to make it happen. And then they can come back to it year over year. You could facilitate a strategic plan with them year over year. If you already had this in place, you could take last year's numbers and put them in there, and it'll recalculate the future, and you'll know what your compound annual growth rate really is. And you can use this model and just keep projecting forward based on more of a reality, and there's much less guessing than you do the first time. So I think we've covered the basis on strategic planning from my perspective. I'm sure you've got any questions, Michael?
Yeah, I get 80 to 100 emails a day.
That's all? Wow.
Probably maybe in the morning.
I get 550, Michael.
There
Oh
you
my
go.
gosh. Anyway, about 25% of them will say, this is a game changer. And it's all a bunch of nonsense to me. But what you're showing me here, I'm looking at orthogonally. It is a game changer for me. This is phenomenal. And I'm going to write you, email with some of these ideas, but you opened up,
I've never walked you through this before.
Pardon me?
I've never walked you through this before, huh?
You have, but now I'm looking at it from my perspective, adding it to your perspective, and making a hybrid.
Well, Barbara, you coach coaches. So, I mean, if you want to become a coach, you talk to Barbara Wainwright. Like, how do I become a coach? So
There you go. I can definitely help you with that. And it's a lot like consulting. So if you're already doing consulting, you're almost there. The difference between consulting and coaching is you're not telling anybody what to do. You're asking them questions. It's that simple.
yeah.
So and for me, I know this probably doesn't need to go on your recording, but what I want to do is I want to get other people interested in coming on board and joining my company. So I'm looking at putting together the business plan so that I can take it to individuals who might be interested in getting on board with me to help build my company to a point where I turn around and go, okay, now I'm ready to either maybe look at investors or take it public or, go that route. That's what I want to do. So I think this is a great package for me to go and spend the time on and put together all of my ideas and thoughts on building that out so that I can approach individuals that might be interested in getting on board to help me do that.
Nice. This could
Yeah.
give them something to do. I mean, I talked to a number of consultants, like some of these high-level management consultants, financial guys.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Listen, tell me something on a scale of 1 to 10, or, how important is it that your client has a business plan?" Sometimes just
Yeah.
morbid curiosity, because I get all these emails that say, "You don't need a business plan. AI can write a
Ugh.
business plan. Nobody reads business plans. Nobody read my business plan." Well, they all had crappy business plans, probably, if I nobody wanted to read them. But that's the subject. But and I said,
Yeah.
"But how important?" I'm just kind of in this fear mode. So I asked these guys, "So, how important is it to you as a business consultant that your client has a business plan?" And I would want to
Right.
tell you that 8 out of 10 of them said, "Yeah, it's important." But you know what? That's not true. All 10 of them said they have to have a plan. I mean, it was like, I'm like, whoa, I was surprised actually how many of them were vehemently, saying, "I won't work with them if they don't have a plan. They got to have a plan." But then I would say, "Well, do you help do that?" And they say, "Well, no, they got to do it themselves." And I'm thinking, okay, here's the problem, or this is the solution to that. Now
Yeah.
you can have
Yep.
your client have that business plan, but you don't have to do all that figuring it out, because if the consultant writes the business plan for you, you better have that consultant on stage or on the Shark Tank with you pitching it, because they're the
Yeah.
only ones that are going to know how it works. And
Right.
it's critical that you, the entrepreneur, can answer the questions. Because I was at one meeting where, this is a crazy question that, we're talking about learning earlier, and learning, catching on. I'm sitting there at this the big conference room, and there's all these investors sitting around the table, and every single one of them could whip out a checkbook and write a check for anybody's deal. So there's high rollers are looking to invest. One of them says, "Hey, entrepreneur, what happens if you get hit by a bus?" I'm
My
thinking,
company goes away.
I mean,
That's
who
why
asked
I
the
want.
question? Yeah, what happens if you get hit by a bus? Meaning a
Yeah.
nice way of saying, you die or you disappear or whatever. And so, or not so nice way, but you get the point. And the
Yeah.
guy's standing there and he's got 4 people around him and he's, I don't know. And I'm thinking that deer in the headlights look is really not attractive.
Not
And so
effective.
you can
Nope.
just see the investors just going, "Oh my God," you know? And I wrote, there's a section in the business plan. I didn't show it to you, but I could. But it says, "What if you get hit by a bus?" And the answer is, I want this again. I want our people to be prepared. And
Yes.
so the answer is, I got a team. See these 4 guys around me? I got a team. They can fill
Right.
in for what I need to do, and they know what to do.
Yep.
Answer number 2, key person insurance. It'll either give you your money back or hire a recruiter to replace me. 3,
Yep.
we thought about it, obviously, but if you got a better idea, I'd love to hear it. But you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? It's like you gotta have an answer, or at
Yep.
least the best BS answer would be, "I've been thinking about that. I don't have an answer. I'd love to hear what your ideas are." And versus going, "Uh-oh, I never thought of that." It's just not good. So,
Right.
anyway.
Right. Well, that is one of another reason, because what I've built over the last 20 years, I think, is, the fact that I'm still here doing it says something about it. But I would love to have a team, like you just mentioned, that could fill in the gaps on the day that I die, because I will eventually. I think all of us know nobody gets out alive. So at some point, it's going to happen. When it happens, I'd love for my company to continue to provide value for individuals, and to make that happen, I need a team, and to get a team, I need that business plan. So
Yep.
that's where I'm
Well,
at.
let's hope you do that. You also wanna have it some time to walk on that beach behind you.
Yeah. Right.
Burke, I've got a question,
Yes.
and I've been a subscriber to you for a long time, and I've stayed, and I haven't used the tool anywhere near what I need to, and here's my problem, and it's also relevant to the recording. And I keep paying my monthly sub because the subscription coming across my desk reminds me of what I have to do, okay? And the lot of money I've invested with you, okay, I'm subliminally picking up your vibes, okay? So so because if I wasn't subscribing, you wouldn't be on my horizon. I go, "Okay, I've got to get to that." Here's my problem. I'm involved in 5 businesses, and on the I'm on the board of 5 businesses. I'm on the board of 7 not-for-profits. Each one of those That's 12 enterprises. Plus I've got 5 children, you know, and I compete in triathlons, and I'm 73 and I work 70 hours a week, and I will never retire. That's not on my horizon. My point is, in business power tools, I'm thinking, I need the strategic planning for each of those 12 enterprises. And my understanding is that it can cope with I'm really, my enterprise is all these, and by the way, one of those enterprises is in the cannabis space, in industrial hemp.
There you go.
And I'm building a billion. That's going to be a $1 billion business. I've been in it for 13 years. Does that in business power tools? Can I do 12 business plans?
You could do 100 business plans in your own thing.
Excellent. Good. Okay, that
The
was
challenge, though, is, Charles, that the information that'll fill in will be, you've got to change that over and over again. I think the price is economical enough that each one of those enterprises could have their own subscription, because each one of them probably needs the employee handbook. They probably need the safety plan. They probably need all the other stuff in the system eventually as well. And so when you have all that the company name and all that, it's going to fill in every single document throughout the entire system. Now, if you're writing business plans for yourself, I had one CEO call up today. I got 3 companies. I need a business plan for all of them. Can I basically, to answer your question, I said, does it matter if each of your CEO or each of your presidents or general managers can see each other's plan? And he said, I don't care. They should. I said, knock yourself out. One subscription, have them all do it. In your case, you've got a dozen different companies. You probably have a dozen different people who should be putting those plans together. Your effort, if you call it even that, is all I'm saying. You're telling them, hey, company number 1, look at that market analysis and call me on Tuesday and we'll go over it. Company number 2, put your management team together, call me on Wednesday, we'll go over it. You're pushing the work off on them to do it. You can't do it for them. You don't want to do it for them. They have to do it for themselves. It's a learning experience for them. They need to watch the video. They need to go through the content. Even if I was going to show you, I even have a screen up here in case someone was to say, let me just show it to you really fast, just because I have it there. It's the question I asked was, hey, ChatGPT, can you write the business plan for me? Can you see this?
Yep.
It's a page on my website. I put it up under systems, compare alternatives. If you compare, it gets down here. And I asked ChatGPT, this was the prompt. You could type it in yourself. Compare business power tools, strengths and weaknesses, and what are its competitive advantages over AI generated plans. That's a little bit stacked in my favor. I do compare competitors, but I just say, what's the difference between Business Plan Builder and so? And it gives me and these things are unedited, except for maybe me putting this in bold blue. But you can see here what my version does and what it says. AI lacks standardized investor-ready formats, uses generic language, may need customization, may have contradictory content. It's got a lot of problems. Here's the business plan builder's competitive advantages. Then in conclusion, if you're serious about funding, it's a superior choice, blah, 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 blah. Love this. Gotta love ChatGPT. And then I added this in here because I was thinking about where are all the places one could use a business plan. Well, strategic planning is just one. But if you're onboarding new people, if any of your 12 companies are onboarding, there's a nonprofit version here. In fact, I have a nonprofit financial model because donors want to know that the money's going to the maximum return on impact is what they want. And then, for recruiting your team, and when you're selling the business or you're giving it to your kids, they need to know what was dad thinking, And then we asked some more things about what about ChatGPT. Anyway, that was just some things on that. But I hope that answers your question. You got to have them do the work.
Yeah, no, it'll spit out a plan, but it won't be anything that you could take to an investor. Absolutely not. And it won't have enough detail to present to somebody else and say, hey, look at my plan. It would be good for somebody who's, just starting out with an idea and going, hey, is this a viable idea? Then they'll get some kind of output, but it's not going to be anything that they can use in any professional capacity.
Right. And remember, investors are looking at, if they've got money they're investing, then they've got a target on them and everybody's hitting them up for money. And they've got anywhere from a handful to 100 deals they're looking at. And so you're competing for that
Mm.
money from this person. They can't fund all of them, and the VCs don't fund all of them. They fund 5 out of 1,000. So you don't want to be part of the 995. You got to do something extra to be part of the top 5% there. So, or not 5%, it's a half a percent, even whatever. Anyway, so
Yeah, so
Okay,
if
now
anybody's looking to get investor, I'm sorry, it's imperative that they have a business plan that is as comprehensive as what you put together. I agree.
and investors think in terms of numbers. Like every slide on your pitch deck needs to have numbers in it. Some number. This is how many customers there are. This is my market penetration. This is what I'm going to invest in this. This is how many people I have. This is what I've done in the past. You've got to have, and the other one is just as we're on it, investors really bet on us. They bet on the jockey, not the horse. And they want to know why you're going to get back on the horse after you've been thrown off a million times. And part of that is you've got to tell your own personal story. And I remember I used to read Popular Mechanics and Popular Science. I want to invent something. I really want to do this. Well, this is my invention. And it turns out it actually helps people. So I always wanted to invent something that helped people and made a lot of money. So that's the idea. So what's the motivation to get back on the horse? Like Barbara, why do you keep getting back on your horse? Charles, you got 12 horses. Why are you on 12 horses? And Michael, same with you. You consult with people. Charles, you wanted to share something?
I do. Yes, I tried to log in, and I thought I can't find my password, so I said so I put in my email address, get my password, and nothing happens. So can you look into that, please?
Sure. I'll send that to you. That's an
Yeah,
easy enough
please.
thing to do. It's probably some hip
Um,
get along.
because the other reason why I'm here and lovely to meet you is because I need to do this, and there's another issue here. I've done a business plan for my hemp business, for example, and Barbara, I've been a professional speaker for 32 years. I was a tax lawyer for 20 years before that, and I've been an executive coach for 32 years as well. And
Nice.
and the how would I describe? You might think my life is mad. No, there's clear strategy, and secondly, there's an interesting golf is my metaphor for business. And Burke, I love, this is inspiring. Everyone watching this recording should understand that I got a real insight today on the value of a business plan is it gives you confidence in the decision making that you're doing each day. Is it worth doing? Because the essence of strategy, as Peter Drucker said, is the ability to say no. I have to say no to a lot of things. I'm well organized, but I've got a massive amount of stuff on my plate, and you know, Drucker says no, just say no, but doing the work that your framework enables us to do gives you the confidence to say no. I can confidently say no to that offer.
Yeah, does it fit what we're doing? Does it help solve the customer's problem? The British Olympic rowing team had a mantra. Does it make the boat go faster?
Mm,
If we drank coffee, does it make the boat go faster? If we
mm.
rode naked, does it make the boat go faster? I mean, that's probably a bad idea. If we did this, does it make the boat go faster? In this case, does it make the business better? Steve Jobs would say he had to say no to 1,000 good ideas. So if you're
Yes.
focused on the problem we solve and who's got it, are we solving these people's problem? Are we solving the people who have the problem? And if it's not making the boat go faster, or it's not making the business better. And so and all the people in the business know that. They don't have to come to you to ask a question over and over and over again. That's what even the employee handbook is all about that. 200 policies in there, We clean the refrigerator out on Fridays. If you got something in it, it's gone. You just
Mm.
know that.
Simple as that, right? But you need
Yeah.
that if you got a team.
The whole thing is
Mm.
about how can we simplify your future, really. It's simple. And that's what I should say up here, simplifying your future.
Very good. All
Oh,
right,
with that,
thank
can we
you. So,
let's
Burke, if you could fix my password so I can
no
get
problem, yeah.
get into this and rely on your genius, and the investment that I've made into you, if if I use it, it will come back 10 times. I know, so that's why you've been on my horizons. And, the other principle that I share with you that my dad shared with me, he says, I do what I can. The rest is up to God.
There you
You
go.
know, and,
So
and
when Charles, when you use it, not if you use it. You've been saying that too long. It's when you use it. Like maybe today.
I started doing it, and then all these other calls come in from these other 11 enterprises. And I suppose the other thought that I was having was I can really look on me, because what I really want is that greater ability to say no. That's all. And in terms of planning our lives, that I'm pretty organized, but I've run 650 online meetings in the last 5 years, all related to important issues, global issues, and, with some of the world's top scientists, researchers, journalists, politicians,
Yeah.
doctors, and, they're all important. I go, okay, I'm willing to forego income because of these bigger issues that are playing out, including, Button Heart Bear and stopping child trafficking. And this bear, Button Heart, is part of raising the awareness around child trafficking of the millions of kids that are trafficked each year. I go, what's more important, for me to earn money or to reduce
What's wrong
child
with that
trafficking?
picture? Yeah, right.
That's
I
the
was going to
balance
say
that I'm
the thing
constantly making.
about your ability to say no, and also about the ability to implement a change. Like with shipping
Mm.
guy, he came in, he led kind of with the why, but really you want to. They say, well, why no, Charles? Well, because, and you have a why, and that's a lot of what's in this thing, like the business plan. We're solving this problem. Why? Who's got it? We need to make a change. Why? You need to answer that. People don't. They're just sitting there, go, I don't want to because I don't know why. But now that they know why, that why you're saying no. Because does this make the boat go faster? No, it doesn't. Sorry, you know,
Mm.
you got the
Yeah.
why there. Well, thank you
Very
guys for
good.
showing up. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. And you listening to the recording, get back to businesspowertools.com and get started with your business plan.
That's right.
Terrific. Thank
Thank
you,
you
Berg.
so much,
Lovely to
Bert.
meet you, Barbara.
Thanks, Bert.
Michael.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you,
Nice to
guys.
meet you,
Well,
Charles and Michael,
Bye.
as well.
you too,
Bye.
Barbara.
Bye. Bye.
Fun.